I always thought love was strongest in the darkest hours, when your soul is cracked, your strength failing, and you just need someone to hold your hand and whisper that everything will be okay. I believed that, right up until the day I was told I had cancer. The doctor's office smelled like bleach and despair. A clock ticked too loudly, echoing with every beat of dread in my chest. When the oncologist said, Stage 3 lymphoma, I didn't hear anything after. Just static. Words like aggressive and chemotherapy floated in the air, but my brain couldn't catch them. I nodded like I understood, but inside I was already sinking. I drove home numb, windshield wipers brushing away the rain and tears I wouldn't let fall. My hands gripped the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. That house, my house, stood waiting like it didn't know everything was about to change. Inside, laughter poured from the kitchen. Glasses clinked, pots simmered, music hummed. Sabrina, my wife, stood barefoot in a silk robe, stirring something that smelled like rosemary and butter. She looked radiant, like nothing in the world could touch her. Lila, our daughter, scrolled on her phone, half listening to some influencer's drama. I need to talk to you both, I said, my voice dry and brittle. Sabrina raised an eyebrow. Can it wait? Dinner's almost done. No, I whispered. It can't. I pulled out the folded sheet of paper with trembling hands and set it on the table. It's cancer. For a moment, the room fell silent. The air turned thick. I expected tears, an embrace, anything, something that resembled compassion or worry. Instead, Sabrina frowned, then slowly said, So what does that mean for us? Chemo. A long road. Maybe surgery. The doctor says there's a chance, but it won't be easy. Sabrina blinked. I see. Lila's eyes barely lifted from her screen. You're gonna be sick all the time? I looked at them both. My family. My whole world. Or so I thought. In the weeks that followed, the warmth in the house disappeared. My wife grew colder, her touches less frequent. She stopped sleeping in our bed, claiming she needed rest and space. Lila avoided me entirely, complaining that the house felt like a hospital. I noticed her posting selfies from fancy cafes, tagging locations that screamed expensive, none of which I ever paid for. One evening, after an exhausting day of chemotherapy, I came home earlier than expected. The driveway had an unfamiliar car parked outside, a sleek black convertible. My stomach churned. I walked up the steps and heard voices, laughter, then moaning. I stood outside the bedroom door, barely cracked open. My heart thudded, weak but heavy. There she was, Sabrina, tangled in another man's arms. His hands on her skin. Her voice breathless. She never looked like that with me, not for years. I didn't burst in. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I turned around, walked downstairs, and sat in the dark until the door creaked behind me. She came down, hair messy, cheeks flushed, her robe clinging to her like a guilty secret. You weren't supposed to be back yet, she said flatly. I stared at her. You're sleeping with someone else, while I'm fighting for my life. She crossed her arms. Adrian, be real. You're barely living. I didn't sign up to be a nurse. Those words shattered something inside me. A piece I didn't know I had left. The next day, she left. Packed bags. High heels clicking across the floor we once danced on. Lila followed, dragging 2 designer suitcases behind her. She didn't look back, didn't hug me, didn't say goodbye. No final words. Just silence, and the sound of tires fading into the distance. I spent weeks in that empty house, chemo eating away at my strength, loneliness gnawing at my heart. The rooms echoed with ghosts of what used to be, a home turned hollow. Every breath felt like a war I didn't want to fight anymore. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw less of a man and more of a shadow. One afternoon, I collapsed in the bathroom, my body too weak to stand. I laid there for hours until the cleaning lady found me. She called 911, and that's how I met Sophia. Sophia was my assigned home care nurse, a woman with warm eyes and the gentlest touch. She was everything Sabrina wasn't, Attentive, kind, and real. She didn't flinch at my scars. She didn't look away when I vomited from the meds. She sat with me on the worst nights, reading poetry, playing soft jazz, rubbing my back until the pain dulled. And she never asked for anything in return. As weeks passed, her presence became the only light I had. She brought laughter back to the kitchen, music into the hallways, and peace into my restless night. There were no promises between us, just quiet understanding, and glances that lingered too long to be accidental. One night I asked, "Why are you still here?" She looked at me like it was the simplest answer in the world. "Because you're still you." I didn't know then, but that was the moment everything started to heal, not just my body, but my soul. Sophia made me believe in love again, even if we never said the words. It wasn't the reckless passion of youth. It was something deeper, something earned. With her by my side, I started to fight harder. The chemo worked. My scans improved. My hair began to grow back, my steps steadied, my appetite returned. 1 year later, my doctor looked at me and smiled for the first time. "Remission," he said. "You beat it." That night, Sophia brought champagne. We drank in the living room where I once cried alone. She smiled, her lips stained with wine. "To second chances," she said. "To hope," I replied. We kissed, slow, tender, real. And in that moment, I knew something unshakable. I'd been broken, discarded, humiliated, but I was still standing. And just when I thought the past was buried for good, the doorbell rang. I opened the door and froze. Standing there, dressed in polished boots and crocodile smiles, were Sabrina and Lila. Time halted. There she was, Sabrina, dressed like nothing had changed. Her dark coat cinched at the waist, stilettos clicking on the porch like thunder. Beside her stood Lila, now 20, all grown up and dripping in designer arrogance. Her expression was blank, sunglasses perched high despite the gloomy sky. Neither looked broken. Neither looked like someone who'd abandoned a dying man. "Adrian," Sabrina said, her voice low and smooth, practiced like a politician. "You look different." "I lived," I replied coldly. They exchanged glances, as if unsure whether they should smile or look solemn. I stepped back but didn't say a word. Curiosity betrayed my better judgment. They walked inside, heels echoing on hardwood that once felt like home. Sabrina glanced around the living room, pretending to be sentimental. "You've kept it cozy." I didn't realize ghosts noticed interior design. I muttered, arms folded. She looked hurt, but only for a second. "I heard about your remission. Congratulations." "You heard?" "What, in between hotel sheets?" Silence. Lila cleared her throat and stepped forward. "Look, we didn't come to fight. Things were complicated." "No," I snapped. "Things were simple. I got sick. You both left." Sabrina moved closer, her perfume invading my space, still the same scent, jasmine and betrayal. "I made a mistake." I laughed dry, sharp. "You don't get to call it that. Mistakes are accidental. You climbed into another man's bed while I was vomiting blood." She flinched. "I didn't know how to cope." "You didn't try," I growled. "You didn't stay." Lila stepped between us. "Dad, she's trying. And I came because I miss you." "Dad." That single word cracked something inside me, even though I hated how easily it left her mouth. For 2 years I was nothing. Not even a message. And now here she stood, using the title like it hadn't been buried next to my pride. Before I could speak, footsteps echoed from the hallway. Sophia appeared, wearing one of my button-up shirts and nothing else. Hair messy, eyes sleepy, radiating calm like she owned the air around her. She froze when she saw them. "Oh." I turned to her, instantly soft. "Hey, it's okay." Sabrina's eyes narrowed. "Who's that?" "My nurse," I said, then smiled. "Now, my everything." A beat passed. Then another. Sophia walked over, graceful, unbothered. "You must be Sabrina. The wife who vanished." Sabrina scoffed. "And you're the rebound." Sophia grinned. Healed him in every way you didn't. I'm more than a rebound, I'm the reward. I nearly choked on how much I loved her in that moment. Lila rolled her eyes. This is awkward. I turned to them, jaw tight. Why are you really here? They looked at each other. Sabrina spoke first. We've hit hard times. There it was. The truth. Lila sighed. The man she left you for? Turns out he had a gambling problem. Left us in debt. We had to sell the apartment. Everything's gone. Sabrina bit her lip. We just needed somewhere to stay. Just until we figure things out. I stared, stunned. You left me to die, and now you want a room? Sabrina touched my arm. Adrian, we're family. I pulled away. No. We were a family. Now you're strangers with matching last names. They didn't cry. They didn't apologize. Just stood there, beautiful, broken, desperate. I should have turned them away. I should have thrown them out. But I didn't. Instead, I offered the guest room. Because I wanted something more than revenge. I wanted them to see everything they threw away. Up close. The next days were a slow burn of tension and quiet firework. Sabrina floated around like she still had a place here, brushing past me in tight dresses, cooking meals she never made before, laughing louder than necessary. She hated that Sophia lived here now, that I kissed her openly, held her waist while she made coffee, whispered things into her ear that made her smile brighter than the sun. Lila barely spoke to me, glued to her phone, but I caught her staring sometimes. At me, at Sophia, at the life I'd built without them. Jealousy simmered in her eyes. One night, I came home from a walk with Sophia and found Sabrina alone on the couch, wine in hand, legs crossed in the exact way that used to undo me. She looked up slowly. Do you remember when we danced in this room? Our anniversary. I didn't answer. She rose, moved closer, set her glass down. I miss you, she whispered. And I made a mistake. But people change. She touched my chest, then slid her hand down, dangerous, deliberate. I stepped back. Don't. But she kept coming. She doesn't know you like I do. Your scars. Your darkness. I was your first everything. And you were the first to leave. Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't buy them. I want you, Adrian, she breathed. I dream about you. About us. What we used to do in that bedroom. How you tasted. How I screamed your name. She pressed her lips to mine before I could stop her. Hot, familiar, filled with hunger. And for one terrifying second, I kissed her back. Then I saw Sophia's face flash in my mind. How she held me in my weakest hour. How she taught me love again. I shoved Sabrina away. You don't get to play victim and seductress at the same time. She looked wounded, but behind it, I saw fire. Resentment. Rage. You'll regret this, she hissed. As she stormed off, Lila stepped into the hallway, watching. I hadn't seen her standing there. Her eyes flicked from her mother to me. You let her back in, she said softly. I let both of you in. Lila stepped closer. But you never let me back. I don't know who you are anymore, I replied. She moved closer, close enough I smelled her perfume. Maybe you should get to know me again. Something in her voice sent a chill down my spine, low, sultry, dangerous. Before I could answer, Sophia walked in. 3 women. One past. One present. And I? I stood in the middle of a storm I wasn't sure I could control. Nights blurred into tension-drenched silence, a heavy atmosphere choking the once peaceful house. It wasn't the cancer that threatened to kill me anymore, it was the chaos I'd foolishly invited back into my world. Sabrina avoided Sophia like plague, gliding around the house in silk robes and red lipstick, always trying too hard. She'd brush past me in the hallway with accidental touches, whisper flirtations just low enough to keep plausible deniability. Sophia noticed, of course. She wasn't stupid. One morning, while brewing coffee, she leaned against the kitchen island and asked, "Do you regret letting them stay?" I didn't lie. No. But I do regret thinking they changed. She tilted her head, studying me. You've changed. How? You look at people longer now. Like you're measuring their truth. I smiled faintly. That's because I've lived among liars. Her lips curled upward, but her eyes held concern. Be careful. Some people come back only to finish the destruction they started. She was right. I didn't know how much, until later that week. It started with Lila. She cornered me one evening in the garage, where I was organizing old tools. Her voice startled me, smooth, low, not the whiny tone I remembered from before. You were always strong, she said. Even when you were sick. You never let it own you. I kept my back to her, pretending to focus on a rusted wrench. Don't play games, Lila. I'm not your audience. She walked closer. I'm not playing. I'm admiring. I turned. You're my daughter. She smirked, stepping even closer, eyes gleaming. Biologically. But emotionally? You shut me out the moment Mom walked out. You both left, I growled. What did you expect me to do? Welcome betrayal with open arms. I was a teenager, she shot back. Confused. Hurt. And now? I'm trying. But it's hard when I feel invisible. She reached out, fingers trailing my forearm. Electric, wrong. Don't, I warned, voice eyes. I see the way you look at me, she whispered. I stepped back fast, heart thudding. Enough. She didn't flinch. Don't worry. I won't tell Sophia if you don't. Rage exploded in my chest. Get out, I said, low and lethal. Lila's smirk faded as she turned, walking off without another word, hips swaying deliberately. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I told Sophia everything. She didn't cry. Didn't shout. She simply stared, then asked, Do you want them gone? Yes, I said instantly. She nodded. Then let's make them leave. Her plan was simple. Expose them both, not just for their lust, but their lies. It didn't take long. Sophia started, accidentally, leaving her phone around the house, voice memos recording every encounter. Lila slipped, twice, talking to someone over speakerphone, bragging about how she'd destroy this fairy tale nurse and take what's ours. We caught everything. And Sabrina? She was worse. Sophia planted bait me. I'd sit alone on the patio, shirt unbuttoned, chest scar visible, drink in hand. Sabrina never resisted. She'd come out, lean against the railing, light a cigarette she never inhaled, and reminisce about our sex life like it was poetry. I still remember the way you'd grab my waist, she'd purr, when you were desperate. I said nothing. Just let her talk. She kissed me once. I didn't stop her. Sophia recorded it from the living room window. That night we sat together, headphones in, listening to everything. Sophia looked at me. Now we show them what consequences feel like. I hesitated. Are you sure? She kissed me. Absolutely. The next evening, we invited them both to dinner, Last Supper style. Sabrina dressed like a goddess in mourning. Lila wore lipstick too red for comfort. The table was set with wine, candles, roasted chicken, a perfectly cooked betrayal. Sophia served them with a smile. Then pressed play on her phone. Sabrina's voice filled the room. I want you again, Adrian. I need you. You still haunt me. Then Lila's voice came next. If I can't have him, I'll ruin her. The air curdled. Sabrina shot up. What the hell is this? Evidence, Sophia said sweetly, pouring wine. You set us up, Lila hissed. No, I said, rising. You did this yourselves. They both stared, furious, caught, exposed. Sabrina's mask cracked. You think this is over, Adrian? You think this nurse is going to keep you safe? Lila sneered. You're nothing without us. You were nothing before. I laughed. Deep, free, powerful. No. I was nothing with you. Now? I've never felt more alive. Sophia stepped beside me, slipping her hand into mine. This house isn't yours. This man isn't yours. Leave. Sabrina trembled with fury. You'll regret this. I stepped forward. No. But you might. Sophia pulled out 2 envelopes, certified letters. Inside? A cease and desist. Every recording filed. Evidence catalogued. Any further harassment would result in legal consequences. You tried to seduce your ex-husband while living in his house, Sophia said. And your daughter? She tried to seduce her father. Let that sink in. Silence. They had no defense. Luggage was packed. Car waiting. They left without a word. But before Sabrina stepped into the vehicle, she turned back one last time. This isn't over, she snarled. I walked toward her, voice low and final. It was over the moment you chose to leave a dying man behind. She left. Doors slammed. Tires screeched. Gone. For real this time. Later that night, I stood outside, watching stars stretch across the sky, empty wineglass in hand. Sophia joined me, wrapping her arms around my waist. I'm sorry it ended that way, she whispered. I'm not, I said. The rot had to be ripped out. She smiled, kissed my neck. And now, I turned, cupped her face. Now we live. Without ghosts. We walked inside hand in hand. And for the first time in years, my house felt like home. 6 months. That's how long it took for peace to sink in like spring rain after a brutal storm. Sabrina and Lila? Gone. Not a call, not a letter. The cease and desist silenced them. The recordings destroyed their credibility, and the online forums I never posted to somehow discovered their true faces. I didn't leak it, someone else did. Karma has a digital footprint these days, and justice rarely knocks quietly. I spent my mornings with Sophia in the garden, my afternoons renovating the home I once believed I'd die in, and my nights tangled in bedsheets that smelled like real love. Not obligation, not performance, not survival. Passion bloomed between us. Not from desperation, but understanding. She made every scar feel like a story worth sharing. One evening, after repainting the old guest room, the same space Lila once tainted, I found Sophia barefoot, dancing alone in the living room, music playing from my old record player. Her eyes lit up when she saw me. Dance with me, she said. I hesitated. The last time I danced in that room, it was with Sabrina, drunk on lust, naive to the fault lines in our love. But this was different. This was a woman who stood by me during treatments that shattered my spirit. A woman who changed my bandages without flinching, kissed my head when it was bald, called me handsome when my skin turned gray. She loved me before I rebuilt. She loved me through the rubble. I walked toward her, pulled her close, and we moved slowly. Her head rested on my shoulder, heartbeat syncing with mine. It felt like breathing for the first time. I want to marry you, I whispered into her hair. She leaned back, startled, then smiled wider than I'd ever seen. You're serious? Dead serious. I wasted years loving someone who only loved me at my strongest. You? You loved me at my weakest. She nodded, eyes glassy. Then let's do it. We didn't have a fancy wedding. No cathedral. No 50-person guest list. No designer dresses. We exchanged vows under the oak tree in our backyard. My friend Alex from the oncology ward, who'd recovered from leukemia himself, got ordained just for us. Sophia wore a light blue sundress. I wore a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. She read her vows from a napkin. I said mine from memory. I vow, I said, to never let the past define me again, and to never let go of the one woman who stayed. When we kissed, the birds sang like they approved. A few weeks after the wedding, I received a letter. Handwritten. No return address. It was from Lila. Dad. I know I don't deserve to call you that. I messed up in ways I'll probably never undo. I was cruel, selfish, and broken in ways I didn't understand until I had nothing left. Mom's gone. She ran off again. I'm alone. You were right. We never earned you. I thought I could come back and reclaim a life I threw away, but I see now, you're not the man I left behind. You're stronger, sharper, and loved. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I finally see the damage. And I'm sorry. Live well. Forget me if you must. Lila. I stared at the page, unsure whether I should feel relieved or wrecked. Sophia found me in the study later, letter in hand. She wrote you. Yeah. Does it change anything? I looked at her, my wife, my salvation, and shook my head. No. We burned the letter together. Ash rained in the fireplace, dancing in swirls like spirits set free. As the months passed, I returned to life fully. Sophia and I started a non-profit, Second Flame, for cancer survivors who were abandoned during treatment. We provided emotional support, legal aid, housing grant. People from around the country reached out, sharing their stories. Many, like me, were left behind by lovers who couldn't stomach sickness. They found comfort in our mission. We turned pain into purpose. I never saw Sabrina again, but word eventually got back. She'd moved to a different state. Rumor said she married a rich dentist, older than both of us, who filed for annulment within 3 months after catching her sleeping with his son. Some people don't evolve, they just relocate. As for Lila, she sent one more postcard 2 years later. She was in Italy working at a cafe. She wrote less like a bitter daughter and more like a woman rebuilding from scratch. She said she was dating a guy who taught art to foster kids and that he made her want to be better. I didn't respond, but I wished her well in silence. On the 3rd anniversary of my remission, Sophia threw a party. Just us, candles, old vinyl spinning songs we didn't know the lyrics to. She wore the same blue dress from our wedding. I kissed her under the moonlight, hands sliding up her bare back. "Do you regret anything?" she asked. I thought for a moment. "No," I said. "Every crack led me here." She smiled. "Even the cancer?" "Especially the cancer. It made me shed dead skin. And somehow it brought me you." We didn't talk after that. Just touched, kissed, made love on the back porch under a blanket of stars. No guilt. No ghosts. Just skin, breath, and healing. Life didn't get easier. It just got worth it. Pain never vanished, but love drowned it out. I used to think my story ended when Sabrina walked out that door. But I learned something far more beautiful. True love doesn't arrive with trumpets. It walks in when you've been gutted. And it stays.